Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks, and today we're gonna turn this into this. With the help of the Lighttailing LED kit for LEGO Ninjago City. So in the past, I've actually been recently doing some partnerships with some LEGO light programs. I partnered recently with a completely different LEGO LED lighting program to bring you the Ninjago City garden set fully lit up. You can check that out linked in the description below. And today, I wanted to bring you a video of a completely different company, Lighttailing this time, showcasing Ninjago City lit up. And again, there is a link in the description below if you're interested in these products to actually buy them, and by doing so, you will actually help support this channel as well. So, fun for everyone, it's a win-win if you actually do want to get one of these kits. So essentially what we're going to be doing here is I'll be walking through the process in terms of the installation, giving my full and honest review in terms of what I think of the kit, how easy it was to put together, and if I would actually recommend it for any builders out there. Now, despite this product being provided to me for free, all of the thoughts I express in this review are my own. I will not shy away from critiquing it. In fact, in my last video covering one of the other LED kits I received a review copy for, I definitely did give some critiques, a lot of suggestions for improvement, and a lot of ways that I felt you could have maybe spent your money better, and gave a very honest opinion in terms of the pricing of that kit and how I felt it was fair in terms of the value. And I will be doing the same for this one. I've yet to open this up, but I'm very excited to do so. Really excited to showcase both Ninjago City and Ninjago City Gardens fully lit up next to each other. So let's just dive right into the process for this. The last time I did something like this, the Ninjago City Gardens kit took me 5 full hours to actually install the lights for. Now that being said, that was because I was filming it along the way, but I'm very curious if it will take me longer for this one, take me shorter, and if it will be easier or harder than the previous product. So I'll be sharing my thoughts on that and doing some comparisons at the end of this video as well. And without further ado, let's jump right into the review process. Okay, so here we have Ninjago City. This is the unlit version right now. I am super excited to see what the lights will bring to this model. So we've got our light kit here. Let's take a look at the box first. It is bringing shine to your world, and I am very excited to see shine being brought to this model. It has the website here as well as their own item number for the lights. That looks to be the final product, so I'm so excited to get that all built up. And it comes with the LED light kit, battery box, and an installation guide. So we have some branding on the side here. It's a very simple box, as well as some comments in the back here, which recommend that you email support@lighttailing.com should you actually want to reach out for support. So it does look like they have a pretty good customer service. At least they've been very responsive to my emails with questions about the model itself. So that's very nice to see. And let's just open this all up and take a look. So the first thing I can see here is a full-on manual booklet for the Light Up Your Ninjago City, as well as a lot of different numbered bags, which is a little bit of a different style than one of the other lighting kits I got. Previously, one of the other ones did not seem to actually number their bags and instead just had me pull from similar elements. But for this, it actually does look like they're going in a completely different direction and including their own LEGO elements. So I presumably will be removing these right here. So I won't be using the bulbs provided in the set. And the lights are seemingly already provided for me, right down to some 1x4 length studs already being attached. So hopefully this will be a much smoother and faster process. I'm very excited to get into this, so let's just jump right in and see what the first steps entail after I actually remove everything from the bag. So we have a little screwdriver here. We've got a battery box, which actually does have some studs on it. I do appreciate that. As well as a host of different cables and cords, presumably to link stuff up together. And the lights themselves, which are all kind of contained within these bags. So let's check it out. So the first thing I see here is a universal instruction, universal unfortunately spelled wrong, but just looking past that, we have a lighting accessories kit here. So this is the instruction manual for the light kits. It's saying that power should be less than 5 volts, not for children under 6. Before installation, prepare tweezers and test the lights to make sure everything can light up. I may or may not do that because I don't really want to take everything out of the bags and test them and then put them all back, so we'll see. But we have some other instructions here. It says the lights damage easily, so take care to actually not damage them with the cords here, which does make sense. Connect to the power battery box. When installing, make sure the wire is between two knobs, not pressed directly by the brick, so it does explain how to do that here. And wow, that looks to be a pretty complicated setup. Not looking forward to doing it in between the studs, but maybe it's just saying to actually just have them like this and not just have them placed on top of studs. So we will see. LED plates always installed in the ceiling and hide spare wires underneath the bricks. So we'll see moving on from there. I'm not quite sure. So this looks to be some sort of a feedback form. Yeah, so it's saying if you're happy with it, do a photo, videos, share it, whatnot. You can actually get a coupon if you sign in, so that's pretty nice to do. And you can actually call support if you have any issues. So it seems like they also have a 2-year warranty after sales, so that's also very nice to see. Just some details about the manual here, and that's basically all it is for English. So let's set this aside and jump right into the main manual. So the first thing it's going to have me do is, let's see, before installation, test everything, blah, blah. Okay, so first I need to disassemble this, presumably take all of the different levels off of the city here and separate them all out, which makes sense, so I'll do that right now. All right, so the first thing we are instructed to do here is completely almost disassemble the first building here, which I have done so. As you can see, the walls have been removed, the roof has been knocked down, everything is completely off, nothing left standing really, just so we can put 3 of the lights in. So I'm very excited to see exactly what that looks like. Let's do the wiring right now. So what immediately grabs my attention here is the difference in the way that this kit is set up compared to other light kits I have previous experience with. Instead of having me install each individual LED myself, they basically have it all set up for me already. As you can see here, embedded within the brick right here and fully glued in is one of the lights. As we trace down the cord, we have another light here, and little holes have been drilled into the side of the Lego pieces here to actually allow for the light connections, which actually makes for a much cleaner break for the wires. Even the little lanterns here, as you can see, have little holes drilled in the side just to let the wires snake out. So this is a much more different approach and something that certainly is a lot easier for me as a builder, as the person who actually has to install these, to actually put for myself. So instead of actually manually sticking each LED in, wiring up everything, this does most of the heavy lifting for you. And all I need to do is follow the instructions and it tells me exactly where to stick them. All right, so I have successfully wired up the lights for the 3 LEDs right there. You can see the wiring job kind of snaking down on the floor of this particular building. The wires are actually very inconspicuous. I really like how they're very much hidden underneath here, and you can see they're just tucked away. And now we move on to the bottom of this building. Right, so it was a little bit confusing in terms of where to put the wires. The instructions for this really do breeze through it, but I was supposed to put the wiring on the bottom of these 2 buildings and then just kind of let them sit. So the wires are not really tucked away. They're just kind of sitting there. Like there's 1 light here and 1 more light underneath this building, which I just installed, and the wires just kind of go back and forth. So they aren't really quite as well hidden, but you kind of have to just use your own creativity for this. There isn't really a set guide. If I wanted to, I could probably get a little creative and string this wire around somewhere. So it really is up to the builder in terms of what they want to do for this. Heck, I could even maybe string this around that voodoo ball there, the ball joint right there. So we'll see if we can do something like that. But all in all, now these 2 buildings are done. It's telling me that this entire area is completely done. So only a few lights being added, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lights for this lower section. And now it's saying to move up to the top section. So let's do that right now. That was a lot easier. All right, so now we have the first main level here, I guess the second level. It looks like we have to do some pretty major disassembly of the structure in terms of removing some of the plates on either side, so I will get to that right now. All right, so we've taken off several of the different pieces off of the balcony area here. You can see all of the different signs and lights have been removed, and we are ready to start installing the lights on each of these little bits. So the lights in question can be found right here. It's this string of lights. As you can see, a little bit all wrapped up together, so I'm going to go ahead and unravel all these, and I presume all of these different bulbs connect to the bulbs like so. All right, so here we have our little chain of lights along the balcony area here, all lined up, as you can see, wired up right here. Even one light that goes directly in the center of the Master Wu hat, so very excited to see that light in action. And now I just have to put all of these back on the base plate, close it all up, and then we move on to the rest of the strip. All right, so we've got the wires all lined up here. Took a little bit of cable management to get this all set, but we are good to go, and I am excited to move on to the next phase. Okay, so now we have 3 more sets of lights, 1, 2, and 3, hooked up on the underside here. All of these are attached to the same wire, and now it's time to move on to the upper buildings. Let's go. Okay, and now we have fully wired up the top section here, just placing the bulbs along here. We've given the crab a pair of glowing red eyes to replace the black eyes, which maybe were a little more accurate, but these will look cooler. And all the wiring has been neatly tied up and stretching out along the back here, where I presume this will all be plugged into the main thing. So with that, we can now move on to the next level, and that was easier than expected and quicker than expected. All right, so we've got the next level here and this string of lights to make it happen. I presume these will go on the trees and these will go on the underside to light the shops that we just installed. Let's go ahead and check out the instruction manual and see exactly what needs to be done. All right, so we have lights on this tree, lights underneath this building and this building, as well as a light that snakes all the way up to here to illuminate this very small space interior. With that, we are ready to actually move on to the next level, which looks to be one of the final pieces needed for this entire kit, which is going by a lot faster than some other kits. All right, so for this level here, we have a pretty long string of lights going all the way over here, all the way down there. This is easily one of the most abundant in terms of the lighting for this entire kit, and I'm super excited to see exactly where they all go. So now that I've hooked up lights inside the house, as well as underneath the house, underneath this main structure, and for whatever reason, one light there as well, it's now time to move on to the final top tower, and then we are going to be good to go. Okay, and finally, the last lights have been installed. One there, and 2 actually in the middle here with some surprising placement, and 1 for down below as well, so you can see all levels of the tower lit up. The wiring was probably the trickiest to do here because you really had to handle 2 different sets of wires snaking on one side than the other side, but I'd say it cleans up pretty well, and of course this all just kind of snakes around the back here and allows you to connect it up to this second area over here. But now it's for the moment of truth, because we have all the wires and LEDs hooked up, and it's time to actually figure out how this all gets lit up. So we've got a whole mess of cables snaking out to the side, but as a plus, you can actually now separate the layers. Unlike some other lighting kits, which actually keep everything together, you can actually separate out the layers and still look inside each of the buildings. So that is a big plus. However, that does also mean that the cables are going to be a lot messier snaking out of here. I do wish that there was a little bit better cable management in this, because there's just a lot of cords dangling off the side here, and there's no real easy way to hide that. But ignoring those, let's just figure out how these all plug in and check out the final result. And now, for the moment of truth. Ta-da! All right, so here we have it, Ninjago City fully lit up by Lighttailing. This took me only approximately 2 hours, and that was while I was documenting pretty much every step of the way. And I will have to say that it was a very simple process to put this all together. There were only 5 numbered bags, 1 for each level, so you got 1 level here, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for the top, as well as some of the cables, and that was really all there was to it. So essentially everything was packaged floor by floor, and what's even cooler is that I can again separate each floor to actually be able to still look inside the individual buildings. Now immediately you can see that what's really amazing about this is that, first of all, the color of the light is changing at the top circle here. I did not expect that. It looks much cooler in person than on camera, but the color is actually continuously changing, full different RGB LEDs packed within here, which is so amazing to see. I really love to see that. And All in all, one of my favorite things about this particular coloration of Ninjago City is just how much detail went into actually lighting these shops up in different colors. It's a very simple thing, but it comes across really well. For example, the restaurant is lit red and has a slightly darker look and feel to it because it feels like maybe a fancier restaurant with darker red lighting. Of course, it is a crab restaurant as well, so the red makes sense. And then you have stuff like the clothing store being lit up in bright blue to really make it stand out and be very bright and flashy amidst the crowd. That's a major plus to me. And of course, the different colors of LEDs really do bode well for the rest of the set. Even for some of the just generic tea spaces, it's just plain white, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of tea shops will just have the plain white vanilla lighting. And all in all, this just employs a variety of different colors, different look and feel for all of the different types of LEDs throughout the model that really makes it come alive. You've got blue lighting underneath the bridge for the water here, and of course, every single one of the bulbs is lit up in red, which really does add to the overall aesthetics of these lights. So, pros and cons for this style of light kit and this style of building. For one, as I mentioned, a major pro is that it's much easier and quicker to assemble. In terms of other light kits out there on the market, some of them actually have you place each LED one by one with little stickers. You really have to lay them in every single stud underneath every single nook and cranny, and that is very time consuming. And this is under half the time it takes for a similar set of comparable size. However, that does come with some drawbacks because, again, you can see that there's a lot of light around here, but really those light sources are only just coming mostly from the overhead lights. You have overhead lights in each of the buildings, you have lights on each of these little bulbs here and some on the trees and whatnot, but for the most part, you're not putting in nearly as many LEDs for this as you would be for some other build, which is definitely both a mixed pro and con. I do think there were some spots that could have benefited from some extra lighting here, say the sushi bar up here, or maybe they could have actually added some lights to the water as well to make the water seem glowing or pop. And even just some areas around this side here as well, it's a little dimly lit around this particular area, and especially because the crab shop itself has a lot of built-in quote-unquote lights that were actually part of the Lego set. There's a whole light strip display that unfortunately that part is not lit up at all because, again, compromises had to be made in order to make it very easy to assemble. So pros and cons of that, it's a lot faster, it's a lot easier for you, but you're not going to be putting down nearly as many lights as some other kits. The second thing that's quite good about this are the instructions. They were generally pretty easy to follow. I will say that compared to some other lighting kits out there, sometimes the instructions are a lot clearer on the other light kits, but that also requires a lot more paper being used, a lot more different booklets. This one, sometimes you kind of had to figure it out as you went along. It showed you where to put all of the lights, but not necessarily how to string up the wires in sequence unless it was very much needed for specific things to be strung one way or the other. So for stuff like that, you kind of have to figure it out on your own and say, okay, well, I probably should be wiring this building up, then the next one, then the next one. But really, if you're an adult fan of Lego who's building this, it's pretty easy to understand. I mean, you'd be able to figure it out, so I'm not necessarily too worried about that. And all in all, I think this has a fantastic presentation, and I really do love, again, the colors here. The changing color on the top skyscraper looks amazing. Of course, you've got a green color for the building where the tree is growing out of, which makes total sense. All sorts of different complementary colors coming together to give a fantastic presentation for this flagship Lego set. And just to wrap this video up, now is probably a good time to talk about price. This currently costs $65 US on the Lighttailing website to purchase the light kit for Ninjago City. And to be honest, I think that's actually pretty fair. $65 for this amount of benefit, for this amount of improvement to the set itself, feels like a fair deal to me personally. Sure, of course, if you're talking about value of the individual components, one of my majors in college is electrical engineering, so I do know a little bit about the prices of electronics and LEDs and whatnot. There is no way that the LEDs here actually cost $65 because, again, to actually get them in bulk, it probably costs a few cents, maybe a couple dollars, $10 at most. But really, what you're paying for is, number one, the instruction manual, which is exactly someone going through here and thinking up which places will look best with what color of lights. You don't have to do any of that yourself. It tells you exactly where to put the lights. Number two, sourcing and modifying the original Lego pieces is incredibly labor intensive. I was just looking at the individual pieces that the LEDs are attached to, and there are tiny minuscule holes drilled into the sides of the pieces, as I mentioned, to allow the wires to snake back and forth. That requires an immense amount of manual labor, and definitely not something that could be doable for the average hobbyist. I mean, even someone who knows what they're doing probably would find it incredibly time-consuming and difficult to actually go through, drill the wire holes, glue the lights on and everything, so that is all done for you. And that's really what I feel is the bulk of the cost, getting this ready to set up so that someone like me can set this up in 2 hours or less, which is actually pretty good because there's quite a lot of lights here. So, of course, this does also boil down to your personal opinion. So, if you don't feel like you want to pay $65 more, or really any significant amount more to light up a Lego set, then maybe this isn't for you. But if you do want to get a lighting kit for a Lego set, this is absolutely something I would recommend. It obviously looks fantastic on display. I love the way this looks, and the price isn't too bad either. So definitely would recommend it at $65 US. This feels like a very complete package. I felt like as a consumer purchasing and using this set, it was very easy to follow. I could actually understand where exactly I needed to plug in all of the lights, which was very simple and not very tedious or time consuming. And with that, we have summed up our look at Ninjago City fully lit up. And of course, I had to end the video with an amazing comparison with the Ninjago City Garden set, fully lit up by Brixmax, next to the Ninjago City set, fully lit up by Lighttailing, which is the one we just reviewed. If you haven't watched it already, do check out, linked in the description below, a video where I covered the Brixmax Ninjago City Gardens lighting kit, and apparently it does seem that they are somewhat affiliated. You can actually purchase Brixmax products on the Lighttailing website, which I'm not sure how exactly that works out, but interesting to see both companies working together. But honestly, this just looks truly stunning together on display. It was a very, very different assembly experience for the City Garden set. versus the Ninjago City set, it's also nearly double the price, if not more. So that was definitely a very different experience. This one actually involved me placing LEDs one by one into Lego studs and very carefully and intricately wiring it up. It has a lot more lights, but it took a lot more effort as well. So I'll let you be the judge, but honestly, together, they truly look absolutely amazing. I'm so happy that I was actually able to do this, and thank you so much for both Lighttailing and Brixmax for sponsoring these videos, because I would probably never have actually gotten it myself unless I actually was given review copies, but now I certainly will be buying some more because I cannot wait to do this to a lot of my own Lego sets. Ninjago City Docs, you're next. Alright, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll end the video with a quick look at some of the different angles that you can see of the entire cities together, both in their full lit up view. Alright, and with that, we have lit up Lego Ninjago City 70620. The Ninjago City set from 2017 is fully lit up, and oh man, does it look fantastic. Let me know down in the comments below, did you like it? Did you dislike it? And what are your thoughts on lighting kits like these? Would you ever consider getting a lighting kit for one of your own Lego sets? And if you do check out that link in the description below, because Lighttailing does a lot of LED kits for all sorts of different Lego sets. I just picked Ninjago City because, well, I like Ninjago City. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for Lighttailing for providing me this review copy of the LEDs for free to review and share with all of you. And I cannot wait to see what else is in store for the future. Thanks so much for tuning in, and subscribe to Duckbricks for even more Lego news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks, and bye-bye for now.